Welcome, survivors, to the Doomsday Pantry, where you can come and get inspiration and ideas for how to survive in this current crisis. Tonight, we will be dining on lentils, rice, and black beans. By the end of this video, I will show you a quick and easy recipe that you can put together to keep yourself full of energy and able to move forward in your day. For my portion sizes, I'm using 2 cups of lentils. We will need taco seasoning for flavor. If you don't have taco seasoning on hand, cumin, a little bit of spice, maybe some cayenne pepper or something along those lines, with salt, pepper. Keep it basic is good. I'm using jasmine rice, but any rice will suffice for this recipe. And then I'm using cans of black beans because I don't want to take up too much of my 2-burner stove with only beans while I'm trying to cook rice as well. So I'm going to be doing canned black beans so that I can just use a skillet. But this is where we begin. Lentils, rice, and black beans and taco seasoning. You're going to want 12 cups water for the lentils, and we're going to give them a quick rinse, and then we are going to throw them in boiling hot water. That is the first step. To continue where we left off, I've got my water heating up for the lentils right here. As you can see, the water is brown. That is from the taco seasoning. So what I do is just a sprinkle across the top until it is fairly evenly spread. And then once it gets to a boil, we'll just add the lentils. And then here is my rice, or my water for the rice. Light amounts of salt for flavor. You want to do 1.5 cups water to every 1 cup of rice. We're going to bring this to a boil and then add the rice, bring it down to a simmer, and top it off with a lid. Once we get this to a boil, the water for the lentils, we will essentially do the same thing. On to the next step. So, as you can see, our water is boiling for our rice. Not for our lentils, unfortunately, which means our rice is going to be done first. But that's okay, because we can stick the rice in a microwave if you have one of those, or you can just set it to the side after you cook it. That's fine too. And then we can throw our skillet on for our black beans while our lentils are still cooking. So, 5 cups water, boiling. Add rice. You're going to want to stir this a little bit. Pardon my terrible holding of my camera. And then you're just going to add a lid and turn it down to a simmer. And you're going to let it sit for about 30 minutes. It's about how long rice takes. Keep an eye on it. If you can't see, there's a little hole on my lid. And when I use this method, quite frequently I will find that the water boils up and comes out of that hole. So I have to come in and stir it occasionally. But that is, I guess, now our third step, this would be. Our lentils are rinsed and sitting and waiting for that to start boiling. Now, you can add it when it's just hot. As you can see, it is steaming. It is just not quite at a boil yet. But if you don't have boiling water, it will not cook quite as fast. While I've been waiting for that, I have set up my skillet with a little bit of oil and opened my cans of black beans. Now, if you wanted to add something to this, you could add a can of diced tomatoes or some vegetables of some kind. I generally stick with, when I'm doing simple meals like this, canned food. So I'd do like a can of mixed veg, or like a can of just like carrots, or a can of other such simple vegetables that are pretty easy to find. I stick with things that are somewhere around $1 to pick up from pretty much anywhere. Tonight I might add diced tomatoes towards the end when I'm doing the black beans in the skillet, and that would be the step where you add vegetables. You want to do it with the black beans in the skillet if you've got canned food. Canned food is already cooked, so all you're doing is heating it up. That takes significantly less time than, say, cooking lentils from dry or rice from dry. So those things are going to take like 30 minutes, and the skillet part is only going to take about 15 to 20. So there's that. Here we go to the next step. Here it is, people, the moment we've been waiting for. It's a light boil, but I'm gonna let it go. So, now that your water is boiling for your lentils, we're gonna take them, dump them in. And as I said, from here, it's another quick stir. Pretty much anytime you add something to boiling water, you should stir it up a little bit. That way it kind of settles evenly. And then we're just going to add a lid, turn it down to a simmer. And in about 30 minutes, the lentils will have absorbed most of the water, and what's left we will drain off. We just want to make sure that the lentils are going to be as you can see, my lid does not fit quite entirely on this pan, and I do not have a lid that fits correctly on this pan, so I'm just making do. But the lentils just need to be squishy, so I'll show you what that looks like in the next part. Haha! But before I go away, here's what I was talking about. If you can see, it's doing this bubbly thing, and the closer it gets to that hole, the more likely it is to spill over. So what I do when I catch it doing this, I'll just lift the lid real quick, give it another stir, and then put the lid back on. Try to do it quick because you don't want most of that steam to escape. You want the rice to soak up that steam. So there's that. On to our next step. Quick interlude. I rummaged through the cabinets to find a smaller lid that fits a little bit better. With lentils, you do want it slightly cracked, so if you can see, there is like a little bit of a air gap there so that the steam can release a little bit. You don't want it to soak up too much, or you'll end up with like mushy lentils, essentially. So there's that. My other lid was actually dripping off the sides and down onto the stove, creating a lot of steam that would have set off my smoke alarm probably. So rice is still looking good. Okay, so here we are a while later, and our rice is done. You can kind of tell by the consistency of it. You want it to be kind of squishy. Probably shouldn't use your hands for this. You can taste it though. But you just want it to be kind of squishy, not too firm, not too soft. Takes about 25 to 30 minutes. So taking it off the burner, and now we're going to use the burner for the skillet part of the beans. It's still heated up, but I'm going to turn it up to I'm on a 10 system, so I'm going up to 7, but essentially you want medium high. You're going to let the oil heat up for a little bit. Grab your beans. Now, there is the option of seasoning this to go with the rice and beans, or the rice and the lentils. I am going to do that, so essentially the same as what I did with the lentils, where I sprinkled it over the top and you just want a nice thin coat. I will show you that here as the oil heats up and I get the beans into the pan. If you can see there, I did not drain any of the liquid off of the beans. Now that is because I want something with a little more moisture in it altogether. The goal here is to, as I said, eat things that are going to provide you with a lot of energy and be filling. So by keeping the liquid in it and letting the liquid seep into the lentils and into the rice, it's going to fill you up a lot faster, in the same way that if you were to drink like 2 cups of water with your meal. That will also fill you up faster. As you can see there, it is starting to sizzle, which means my oil is heating up. I'm just using a light amount of oil here, a thin coat. You can see that's all of it gathered together, but as it spreads out across the entire large skillet, you can barely even tell that it's there other than it's sizzling. So now we're going to add the black beans. And now I've got 2 different brands of black beans, but as you can see, that is organic black beans, and that is just simple Bush's black beans. So each of these cans is probably in the $1 range. So what we're looking for altogether right now is you're probably going to spend about $5 on a 2-pound bag of lentils, and then probably $1 each on a can of black beans, and probably about $5 on a 2-pound bag of rice. So 2 pounds of rice is roughly 2 to 3 cups. It kind of depends on what kind of rice you're buying, but generally pretty cheap. I mean, altogether, the portion size that I'm making is to feed 8 people, ideally. So that's what, 5 plus 5 plus 2, so like $12 to feed 8 people. And generally when I make food like this, we have leftovers, so this is something I like to do pretty standard, not even just in crisis situations. I like beans and rice though. So if you're looking for a smaller family than 8 people, you're probably going to get 2 meals out of this. And if you've got 4 people, and if you're looking for even less than 4 people, you're talking 2-3 meals out of about $12, which is pretty good. So not including taco seasoning, but an entire thing of taco seasoning costs about $4, and that'll make you a lot of meals. So as you can see, it's just lightly simmering there. You can see it bubbling. Now, I said I was going to show you my amounts, so here we go. We're just going for a light sprinkle. Fortunately, this doesn't want to cooperate with me, so there we go. That's better. Light sprinkle over the beans. If it looks about like that, it's probably enough. Now, I mean, you could add salt, pepper, you could add some other stuff. If you had lime juice, if you've got some of that lying around, or if you've got fresh limes to squeeze into it, that can fancy it up even a little bit more. The acidity will balance things out. You could add, if you want to go a little more towards barbecue, you could even add some brown sugar to either the lentils or the black beans, or both even, and you'll get a little bit of sweetness, closer to a barbecue flavor than just regular taco seasoning. But a lot of dishes that involve beans or rice or meats that are, southern or barbecue related, southern as in, southern United States, or southern as in South America, most of them use pretty much the same seasonings. I mean, you're talking cumin, salt, pepper, paprika, basic spices, chili pepper, oregano, onion, garlic. Pretty much everybody uses garlic for pretty much everything, and then salt and pepper. I'm not going for a super complex flavor here, just going for something pretty simple. So on to our next step. So here we are with the lentils a few minutes later, because I started my rice with the boiling water a couple minutes before I started my lentils. My rice got done first, but not much later we've got these lentils. As you can see, our black beans are at a pretty steady simmer. So the lentils will be a little bit firm, and they're not like the best tasting thing all by themselves, which is why we added taco seasoning. But I mean, I started this process roughly 12 or 11:30 p.m. and it is now 12:05. Lentils are perfectly done. I'm going to drain off that water, and then I'm going to put the lid back on so that it keeps in the heat while I wait for these black beans to heat up. Now, as your black beans simmer, you're going to want to continue to stir them in your skillet. Again, these are pre-cooked when they come canned, so you're not really looking to cook them so much as to heat them up. You want to keep them from burning to the bottom of the pan. Black beans, especially with liquid in them, will tend to make a huge mess. One of the things that I do when I'm doing cleanup for meals like this is immediately rinse the pan after you're done with it. All I've done since the last little snippet was rinse or drain off the lentils. So lentils are sitting here in this pot. Black beans are pretty much done. So what I'm going to do, because those lentils weren't super flavorful, is I'm just going to add a little bit more taco seasoning, stir it in, and then add some salt and pepper. So as you can see, just another healthy sprinkle of that. Got this tiny little salt shaker, but just gonna add a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper. And then I'm gonna stir it. When you're using dry seasonings like this, it's generally good to make sure that there's a little bit of moisture left in whatever you're stirring it into. That way it moves around rather than just getting stuck. So I left tiniest bit of liquid on the lentils. We'll see if that tastes a little bit better. So, as I said, most of these things are not going to be super flavorful that I make, but the combination of the black beans and the lentils and rice will make a nice hearty meal. Black beans are probably going to taste a little bit better than lentils. I mean, maybe that's just my opinion. I don't like lentils all that much unless I start adding other stuff like vegetables. Kind of feeling like maybe I should have added a can of diced tomatoes, which again, only add in most canned foods you can get for about $1. You could even get canned lentils or skip out on the lentils, get like a bag of rice for like $5, 2 cans of black beans and 2 cans of diced tomatoes. Do essentially what we've done here in terms of cooking the rice, and then simmer the black beans and the tomatoes together. You'll want a pretty big skillet for that if you're going to do it all at once though. Or 2 skillets if you want to do the tomatoes and the black beans separate, then just combine it on top of the rice. That works too. So now that our black beans are heated up, it's time to plate it all together, and we'll see how it turned out. Alright, so here we are with the final part of the dish. As you can see, it's a lot of brown, and underneath those beans and rice is, underneath the... Alright, so here we are with the final part of the dish. All that's left is to eat it. We got black beans, lentils, and the rice is underneath. I like to put them on top so that all the moisture soaks down and the flavor soaks down into the rice. Now I do that when I'm plating it, but then when I eat it, I just kind of stir it all up. As you can see, we've got pretty plain colors over here. If you were trying to go a little fancier and maybe trying to make this into an actual dish, you would add some color. So you could do that with, as I said, a can of mixed vegetables, a can of diced tomatoes, something like that. And you just throw it in with the black beans. Wouldn't increase your cost exponentially, and actually, as you can see, even though I was planning for 8 people, I'm only feeding 4 right now. I don't have much black beans left, so 2 cans might not have been enough for everybody. But there are plenty of lentils. There's plenty of rice. Well, I can tell you guys this for certain. That one bowl of food did me in. I ate a fair amount. So, One reasonable sized bowl of rice, beans, and lentils will serve you well for a meal, and it'll probably last you for at least, I'd say, 8 to 10 hours of energy. That's pretty good. So, now that we're done with that, I'm going to move on to some 7 Days to Die, because no crisis is complete without a post-apocalypse games. Enjoy your night, and I'll enjoy mine. Tune in next time for another episode of Doomsday Pantry.